Did you know? Crash Bandicoot was originally referred to as Willy the Wombat. This was only a temporary name, however, as the developers knew that a wombat in the cartoon show Tasmania was also called Willy, and they didn't want to risk any legal action. They also thought that the name sounded a bit dorky. When designing this character, which formed the basis for Crash, the developers decided it should either be a wombat, a potteroo, or a bandicoot. Naughty Dog wanted to replicate what Sega and Warner Brothers did with hedgehogs and Tasmanian devils by taking a somewhat cute animal that nobody really knew about and turning them into a memorable character. Their desire to make a memorable character also stemmed from the fact that Sony didn't have a mascot for their PlayStation brand, and Naughty Dog wanted to fill the gap and help Sony compete with Sonic and Mario. Naughty Dog decided to go PlayStation exclusive after assessing the competing consoles, and deciding that the Sega Saturn's hardware wasn't quite up to scratch, and that the cartridge-based Nintendo 64 would be far too expensive to publish games on. Naughty Dog also purposely designed Willy with no neck. This made his geometry less complicated, reducing the amount of polygons that the PlayStation had to render in-game. His colour was then chosen by process of elimination. After gathering colours commonly used on popular characters, comparing these colours on TVs that were available at the time, and by placing the colours on various backgrounds to see what worked and what didn't, they decided on the colour orange. Crash Bandicoot finally got his name from the fact that he was a bandicoot that crashed into boxes. Although Naughty Dog wanted the name Crash Bandicoot, the marketing director of Universal Interactive Studios insisted the character and the game that he was in to be named Wez, Wezzy, or Wuzzle the Wombat, or even Ozzy the Otzel. The name Crash Bandicoot prevailed after Naughty Dog threatened to drop the project entirely. It was decided that Crash should be mute, as the creators thought voiced video game characters were lame and took away from the play identifying with the character. Also, the crates within the game were initially just to fill in the more boring and empty parts of the levels, as the PlayStation can only render so many objects and enemies on screen at one time. The boxes were simple enough to have lots on screen without overloading the console, and then later became a series staple. There are many Crash Bandicoot levels that weren't actually included in the game's final release. One of the levels was a minigame level that you would teleport to after collecting 3 Torna mugshots. The object of the minigame was to break 3 crates and grab the Torna mugshots within each, and then you'd progress to one of the bonus rounds seen throughout the game. As well as the minigame part, there are 3 fairly unfinished traditional levels. One of them is based around climbing a large cliff, the other is about climbing up a large waterfall area, and another takes place in a cavern full of acid. The cavern level is completely absent of enemies, and it only contains the first part of the level. The cliff and waterfall levels are more complete, but they still have unfinished textures and even contain an unfinished dingo enemy. However, the dingo can't hurt Crash as he has no real AI or animation. There's one more unused level in Crash Bandicoot, but this time it's practically complete. The level Stormy Ascent was removed because of its high difficulty, and the developers didn't have time to make it easier. It's generally seen as a harder version of the level Slippery Climb, which is already considered a hard level to beat. The only part of the level which isn't complete was the bonus round, as it was never created, and trying to enter it would simply crash the game. Levels were cut from other Crash games too. Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back had a snow level which never made it into the final game. The screenshots of the level from Next Generation magazine don't match up with any of the levels used within the game. There's also a screenshot from a sewer level that doesn't match up with anything seen in the game either, so this area was either changed or cut during development, or it was just cut from another level. The warp rooms were also different during development. The area itself is different, and the holograms are projected from the floor rather than the floating projector in the final game. Not to mention the camera angle is also different. The boss Ripperoo's voice is actually an archived recording of the voice actor Dallas McKennon, and it's the laughter of the zoo hyena from Disney's Lady and the Tramp. Ripperoo was actually going to speak English in the final versions of Crash Team Racing, and would have had a unique message before and after the races. Here's what he would have sounded like.
Are you crazy not to race me? I should face oxide in the big race!
The final version just contained his trademark manic laugh with subtitles, and speaking of Crash Team Racing, in an interview with GameTrailers.com, Naughty Dog developer Evan Wells stated that early on in Crash Team Racing's development, the development team fully recreated the level Crescent Island from Diddy Kong Racing within Crash Team Racing's game engine. According to Evan, it was a test to see if they could create a level of Crescent Island's scope and scale on the PlayStation hardware. The character Torna was based on the actress Pamela Anderson, which can be seen by her blonde hair and breast size. After Crash Bandicoot 1, Naughty Dog removed Torna from the Crash series. The reason for this was supposedly because Torna was found to be inappropriate for young children, since Crash Bandicoot was seen as a family-friendly game. The real reason, however, was because the marketing director for Universal Interactive Studios saw the designs of Torna and reacted poorly to her design. Her anger made the president of Universal Interactive so nervous that he asked Naughty Dog to change Torna's appearance. Naughty Dog were then displeased with her forced redesign and decided to remove her entirely. Ironically, her redesign in Crash Boom Bang for the Nintendo DS is reminiscent of her original design, showing her stomach and wearing very high-cut shorts. In demo versions of Crash Bash, including the ones given away in official PlayStation Magazine UK, you can actually access the full game using simple cheat codes. It was discovered 9 years after the game's release by people who go by the aliases LX Shadow and Hack. If it was discovered closer to the game's release, it could have had a catastrophic effect on the game's sales. In Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped, Crash had 30,000 frames of animation. Naughty Dog believed this to be the most frames of animation for a single character in any video game at that time. According to Naughty Dog developers, Dr. Neo Cortex uses men's hair loss product Rogaine, but only on the sides of his head. Also, during development, the original Crash Bandicoot was codenamed the Sonic's Arse game, because the perspective constantly pointed the camera at the character's arse. That's all for today, but don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you also check out DidYouKnowGaming.com, where we post gaming trivia every single day. If you like this video, then check out some of our other videos. And if you like really dumb videos and want to see some more Crash Bandicoot, then you can go and click on one of my videos. It should be there somewhere. So, yeah, have fun.